Are you worried about money and that if something unexpected happens, you don't know how you'll cover it? Well, let's talk about how not only to save more money, but also how to have peace of mind. All right, today we are part 3 in our series, which is Baby Step 3. So what is Baby Step 3? Well, before we get to that, let's review 1 and 2. Baby Step 1 is saving a $1,000 starter emergency fund. Baby Step 2 is getting completely out of debt, but your house, using the debt snowball. And then Baby Step 3 is having 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank. I want you to get to this point where you care more about savings than stuff. So in today's episode, I'm going to tell you how to bulletproof your emergency fund, and we're going to talk to a super motivating couple who is in this step and they're staying the course because I want you to do that too. Let's be honest though, Baby Step 3, it's hard. Yes, because when you're getting out of debt, you're getting all these quick wins, you're hitting milestones, and you're like, yes, the celebration continues. But building up your emergency fund can make you kind of feel like womp womp. Like all we're doing is saving. But listen, don't let your foot off the gas. You want to stay intense here because this is what it's about, you guys. This is the final sprint. So after the savings is done, you can actually breathe a little. Then you can focus on your retirement and your kids' college and doing stuff for your future. You really do. You have a buffer between you and emergencies. And honestly, that is not the case for most Americans. In fact, 40% of Americans, they go into debt when an emergency hits. That means if the car breaks down, they use debt to cover it. So they end up adding interest and payments onto something that was already a crisis. It turns a really tough situation into many sleepless nights by dragging it out even longer. This is because the personal savings rate in America is less than 5%. 5%, you guys. In the words of my friend Chris Hogan, that is not okay. Now, listen, if you don't learn to shift your spending into savings, you will never get out of the cycle of Baby Step 2. And as a spender, here's how I've shifted my mindset into savings. So you're either naturally a spender or a saver, and I am a spender. And I can tell you, when I look back on my life, a lot of my spending impulses came out of a place of immaturity. It's kind of like a 5-year-old just being like, oh, I deserve it, I want it. And so I really did. I had to rein in my spender tendencies, but once I did, the idea of security felt so much better than spending to me. And when you recognize that, you can take the impulse out of it and learn to spend on a strict budget. It's way more mature than just doing what feels good in the moment. So when you take that mindset of knowing that you can spend within your limit, then you can have the patience to really save money. And it's so worth it for the security of just knowing that we're good. We have money in the bank. We have money saved. This is a totally different feeling than having a goal to save towards something special. Listen, saving towards a house or a new car or a trip, naturally, that's motivating because in our culture, we want something tangible for our work. So it's understandable. But in emergency funds, you can't really feel it tangibly. I mean, unless I guess you cash it out and have a bunch of dollar bills and throw it around at your house. I mean, I guess you could do that, but it's a different feeling, okay? When you have an emergency fund, there is a gratification that you just have peace of mind. And remember, this is about putting money towards your future instead of paying off your past. How easy could it be just to quit your job if you had money in the bank? Yes, this step, it really gives you freedom. And there's no easy path to Baby Step 3. You have to work at it, but it is so worth it. Remember, debt steals your future, saving secures it. So let's talk about how to bulletproof your emergency fund. Family is one of the most important parts of my life, and making sure everyone is taken care of is a top priority. That includes more than just meal planning, entertaining the kids, and taking care of all the day-to-day needs. That's why I recommend having life insurance. Now, when you're shopping for it, you might wonder, should I get term life insurance or whole life insurance? I always recommend term insurance. It's going to save you tons of money that you can put towards paying off your debt and funding your emergency fund. For a 30-year-old male, a 20-year, $250,000 policy would cost just $15 a month for term life. However, the same policy for whole life would be $190 per month. That is a huge difference. Winston and I use Zander Insurance. They do all the work for you by finding you the best prices and options customized to your needs. To learn more, call Zander today or go to Zander.com, because that's who we trust to take care of our family. All right, when it comes to your emergency fund, there's 3 things that you need to know to make it bulletproof. Number 1, how much should it be? Well, the good news is, since you've already completed baby step 1, you already have $1,000 saved. So great. Now you just need to know 2 simple things to determine how much more money you need. Number 1, do you first lean towards 3 or 6 months? So those of you that might lean towards like just having 3 months saved, maybe you have dual income, a stable job, you feel good about where you're at, you may just need 3 months. Those of you that lean more 6 months, maybe you're a single income family or a single person, you're commission-based, freelance, irregular income, a little bit of like instability there, maybe you want more like 6 months. Now, if you're married, there might be some compromise. I find that most men just want 3 months saved and most women want 6 months saved. So sometimes you just gotta meet in the middle. All right, next, you need to determine your expenses. So we always say your emergency fund needs to be 3 to 6 months of expenses, but people fall in 2 camps here. For some people, their expenses are just the bare minimum, like the 4 walls, that they have food, shelter, utilities, gas, like the main things, those are covered. And they consider that expenses, which is great. Others of you are on this camp over here, which is where you want your lifestyle to stay exactly the same. So like if someone loses a job, you have enough money saved that your lifestyle doesn't have to change. And so Winston and I, we looked at our budget and we said, okay, here is how our lifestyle could stay exactly the same. So we took that number and multiplied it by 6. And that is ours. Again, neither camp is right or wrong. It's just what you want. All right, the second thing that you need to know to bulletproof your emergency fund is, where do you keep your emergency funds? Any savings account will do. I really recommend a money market account though. There's also banks online and they pay more interest than just traditional banks. But do your research. You don't want any hidden fees that will hit you if you pull the money out. Because remember, this is like insurance. It's not an investment. This emergency fund is insurance. It is not an investment. I will repeat it again and again and again. You want to be able to get the cash out quickly. So put it somewhere so that you're not tempted to use it on non-emergencies, which brings me to number 3. What is an emergency and what isn't? So 3 questions to ask yourself. Is it urgent? Is it unexpected? And is it necessary? So a vacation you're dying to take, not an emergency. The car breaks down, an emergency. Your air conditioning breaks in mid-August while you're pregnant, that's an emergency. Yep. A new couch, not an emergency. Your kid hits their head on the coffee table and needs 4 staples. They've happened to me as well. An emergency, yes. So you have to figure out what is an emergency and what isn't. But it also comes down to you and your spouse being on the same page about this. And you really need to do what feels right for your family. So to get started, download my cheat sheet on how to calculate your emergency fund, and I will put a link in the show notes. All right, coming up next, I'll interview a couple who's on baby step 3, and they have become obsessed with saving.
We felt stressed, overwhelmed. We were making a decent income, but not knowing kind of where our money was going month to month. There was that overwhelming feeling of this is how it's going to be forever. Back in 2014, we had about close to $100,000 in debt, and I was laid off from my job.
That was a scary feeling, and only having a little bit of savings was a terrible feeling.
So we made the decision to sell our house, take that money, pay off a credit card, pay off a car, pay off a school loan, and then we were left with about $38,000 worth of debt.
Once we started paying things off, then we could see a light at the end of the tunnel. But it took a little bit to get there. At first, it was very overwhelming. Then we made like a first big payment. The first one was like $6,000 or $7,000. Then once that was gone, then the momentum built.
and you start doing the debt snowball. And the more you get through it, then it's like, okay, we can do this.
And then it was exciting. And then it wasn't as overwhelming, and anxiety was calm at that point. We're like, okay, we can do this. This is short term, and it's going to be over. Once we started Baby Step 3, it got a little easier because we finally felt like we were working to actually save something. So now knowing like, okay, we're going to save as much as possible so that if we ever get in this situation again, we don't have to worry. I mean, I get a little obsessive with the saving because it's security, and security feels good.
You know, it's a lot of sacrifice, but if you kind of step back and look at, okay, at the end of this, it's going to be a much bigger payoff than whatever it was we were going to buy or do at the time.
I feel like now I'm like actually making money, and I'm more motivated, and I want to make more, have a little more of a hunger because I don't feel as tied down to loans. It just feels better. It's a better feeling.
And just feeling that security of, hey, if something happens, we're going to be okay. And it really changes your perspective on working and on life in general.
Well, Nick and Amanda, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your story. I love it. You guys started on the baby steps and kind of started your money journey. So tell me what caused you guys to begin this whole process?
So I think, before we had started Financial Peace University, we were stressed out every month, not knowing where our money was going. Get to the end of the month and scraping money together to see, are we going to be able to pay our mortgage? Are we going to be able to, buy food?
Yeah.
And it was just that overwhelming stress every month. It's like, okay, we have to do something different in our lives if we're going to break the cycle of this. So that's kind of why we had started Financial Peace University and started on the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys were living a pretty quote unquote normal life, you would say, because I feel like that's how most people function with their money.
Yes.
But you got to the point that it's like the stress and just the mundane task of we're stuck in this process caused you to change.
Yeah, and it was kind of looking at the incoming and outgoing every month. It was everything you make was continuously going out, and you were left with nothing at the end of the month. You're working so hard, going to your job every day, and it's like there has to be more than this.
Totally. So what kind of got y'all, what introduced you to Financial Peace University?
I was checking my email on the way home from driving to Illinois, driving back here to Tennessee, and something popped up in my email about Financial Peace University at our local church. And, I knew about Dave Ramsey and the baby steps and everything, but we hadn't actually, tried to live by it. It was kind of like, yeah, I understand it. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, hey, do you want to do this? And she's like,
Yes.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's try it. What do we have to lose?
Exactly.
We have nothing to lose. It can't get much worse than kind of what we're doing right now.
I married into a lot of debt with him. So for me, I had no emotional attachment to that debt, which was frustrating. And I think I was probably a little bit resentful. And
A little bit.
a lot. Okay.
A little bit.
And I was exhausted. I was
Yes.
sick of going to work, working so hard to pay his school loans. I mean, I know it's our school loans, but it did not feel like that to me.
Did you ever get to a place then, because I do hear that a lot with spouses of okay, one spouse brings in a ton more debt than the other. How did you navigate that? Or how did you overcome that? Do you feel like you got in a better spot, or were you just always frustrated through all of baby step 2?
No.
What was it like for
It
you?
was hard because I came in with zero debt. I came in with no debt and a savings account. So then I come into $80,000, $90,000 in school loans, and that was very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to work through a lot of those issues.
Yes.
I'm sick of working to pay off your school loans. Let's kick it in gear. And I felt like I was kicking it more in gear, and he was just kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a dreamer, and I'm the nerd. So the fact that the dreamer wanted to learn about money, I was like, sign up now. Do not change your mind. Yes. We're
Go
doing
forward.
it.
Go
Yeah.
forward. And it was so worth it. The 9
Awesome.
weeks
Absolutely.
and all of that.
Yeah, it was very much kept us accountable.
Yep.
To have to go somewhere, you have to leave your house. You have to go to this class. You've got, you watch Dave talk. You go through the conversation pieces in the book, and you talk to others who are going through a very similar experience. Some worse, some not as bad, but it kind of makes you feel like, okay, we're normal. We're all in this together to try and break the cycle. So
Yes.
it gives you that accountability person to bounce it off of, to give you encouragement when you get a little down. on things. So it was totally worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Love the experience. Yeah.
So good. Okay, if you guys are curious about it, make sure to click the link in the show notes as we have all information about Financial Beast University. Make sure to check that out. Okay, so you guys are on baby step 3, which is big. That's a big deal. We talk a lot about baby step 2 on this show and the idea of getting out of debt, but you guys have transitioned to baby step 3. So tell me about the difference between baby steps 2 and baby steps 3 for you guys.
Paying off the debt on baby step 2, we got to the end of it. And for me, I was expecting like this big bang, this like parade and like, the band going off and like, hey, you paid your debt off. And for me, it was very kind of anticlimactic. It's like, okay, well, let's keep going. Next. But I would say the excitement of then, instead of paying other people your money, you get to keep your own money. It's a crazy thought. You get to keep your own money, put it in the bank, see it grow, and this sense of security, it's extremely motivating to be in that position.
Makes you want to work more and work harder because it's a different why. So it's much more motivating.
So I'm curious for you, Amanda, because he said like there wasn't like confetti and like this big hoorah after you paid off the debt. He was like, okay, baby step 3 now. Let's keep going. Did you feel a sense of relief? Did you feel any more emotion?
I was like,
you felt the confetti?
Enter. I was like, yes. Like, I'm done with those student loans and I can move on and stop being mad about it. Really, like totally. I can move on now. Yes. You own your degree, you own that knowledge. Let's move on.
Yes. And so would you say it's as motivating as baby step 2? Because sometimes people say baby step 3 is a little bit hard to get through because they're just like, just saving money. But you guys feel energized by it.
I think it's more motivating.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I believe it's more motivating because you're seeing that.
You really feel like you're actually winning, I guess, in baby step 3. It's like baby step 2 is, it'll wear you down.
You're paying for your past.
Yeah.
I mean, it's throwing money backwards.
Yeah, so baby step 3 is just a nice breath of fresh air.
Yes.
Just saving money. It's a different feeling.
Oh, I love it. So you guys, I mean, you really have changed your whole philosophy when it comes to money, from not just paying off debt, but now actually saving money. And you actually have a positive net worth, which is unlike a lot of people in America, right? They don't have savings. So what's your why? What keeps you doing this day in and day out? What keeps you on baby step 3? What's going to cause you to do baby step 4, 5, and 6?
I want my son to grow up and see a positive spending and saving and to be different and to go to college with no debt and come out with no debt and just have a fresh look on life and not be worried about $80,000 in school loans.
Yeah.
And we want to live. We want to travel. We want to live our life. And I don't want to be bogged down with Sally Mae. So that's my why.
That's good.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see a lot of people working when they're older and can't retire. And I think that's a huge, that scares me a lot, the thought of that, of not being able to retire and, having to work as opposed to wanting to work and enjoy, our lives together as we get older. So that's kind of my big thing is I want that. I want to look out for my future and our future and be able to retire and enjoy our lives.
So great.
That's what it's all about.
I love it. Love it. So how much debt was paid off in total?
$38,000.
$38,000.
7 months.
In 7 months.
Yes.
And then how much is saved now?
At the end of this month, I think we're going to be close to $12,000.
Oh my God.
So
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of the audience watching is on baby step 2. They're paying off debt, but there's a percentage of them in baby step 3. So those in baby step 3 that may not be as motivated as you guys are in baby step 3, what advice would you give them?
Just keep going. I mean, it's to see your savings account grow. I mean, that's it's such a secure feeling that knowing if something happens, you're covered.
Yeah.
And if you've never gone through, so I guess for us, we've gone through me losing my job and know how that feels to not have that savings account there. And I hope you don't have to experience that. But from somebody who has and us that have, it's an awful experience if you don't have savings. So just know that. That is your security. That's if something happens, that's what it's there for.
Yep. That's your plan B.
So stay with it.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are awesome. Seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming on, sharing your story. It's so motivating seeing people do this stuff day in and day out, and that's you guys. So keep rocking it.
Thank you.
You're doing so great.
Thank
so
you.
great. All right, coming up next, I will tell you one place in your house you probably haven't looked to save money for baby step 3. right, this episode is all about saving money, and a great place that we all love to save money is with our food. So I brought editor-in-chief Susan Spencer in from Women's Day to help us with some really great tips. Thanks, Susan, for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're like an alum on the show.
I know.
I feel like you've been back, and I love it. So this is great tips because it all has to do with your freezer.
Your freezer, exactly. You never would think that this silly little appliance would save you so much money.
I know.
It really
totally.
does.
So starting with, I see broccoli.
Yes, you see broccoli.
Yes.
So frozen foods are your best friend, and they're really a good way to save money. So first of all, frozen foods are picked at the peak of ripeness.
Okay.
So they're very, very good for you, extremely nutritious. So there's a nice health angle here as well. But they also cost a lot less. So if you just compare broccoli, your friend, fresh broccoli is about $1.99 a pound, whereas frozen is about $1.25 a pound. And you're not losing anything in terms of flavor. And as I said, it's actually a little bit more nutritious.
Which
as
is
well.
so good, because legitimately right now in life,
Right.
if you open my refrigerator, I have a head of broccoli from last week that we didn't end up using. But when
Yeah.
it's frozen, it stays.
Exactly. And also, I think vegetable manufacturers are putting out really, really yummy things that kids actually really like. So these veggie tots are particularly delicious.
And they're from cauliflower,
Yeah.
by the way. I was like, my kids will eat it. It just looks like fried and good. And
Exactly.
My kids will do it. So good frozen veggies, the way to go. Save some money that way. Love
Right.
it.
Right.
All right, up next is what, bread?
Well, bread, I mean, this is something that is often on sale, but if you buy a couple of loaves and stick them in the fridge or leave them on the counter, they're going to go moldy. However, you can, again, put them in your freezer, and that'll save you money because it'll extend the life of the bread. But our tip is to actually split them. So if you buy English muffins, split them. If you buy a beautiful loaf of artisanal bread, slice it and put the individual slices in the
Yes.
freezer, and you just pull them out whenever you want a piece of toast.
So easy. That's so great.
Right. And there's lots of other ways to extend the life of food. My favorite tip is has to do with fresh herbs. So these cost about $2.50, $1.99, something like that. And I don't know about you, but I always end up using one sage leaf, and the rest goes bad. So when they're starting to maybe look a little bit not so great, chop them up.
Okay.
And mix them with a little bit of olive oil and just put them in a regular ice cube tray. Stick them in the freezer, and then you can just use them in soups or stews or in dishes, whatever you want to do.
That's so smart. I love that.
Another thing that's super expensive at the supermarket, and you should always buy them in the bulk bin, is nuts and nut flours. And they actually have a tendency to go rancid if you just leave them out.
Okay.
So we suggest keeping those in the freezer, extends their life, and again, they'll last a lot longer.
Love it.
So you won't lose money that way.
Keep it frozen. I know my freezer's a little nuts if we were to open mine at home right now. So your next tip is probably my favorite because it just kind of
Right.
like makes me feel better about
Exactly.
life. Like a little bit of control.
Control and organization is key. So you can do all of these things, but if you have a freezer that looks like a black hole, like
Yes.
mine does, then you're not going to save any money because
I mean-
you won't be able to find anything.
And we're terrible. I'll like save like a little thing of meat and just wrap it, saran wrap, and put it in a bag and just like freeze it. And I'm like, I don't know how long that meat's been there. So
Right.
this literally is about to save
Exactly.
the cruises
And-
a lot.
And frugality is important, and
Yes.
it's really good, and so we're going to help you here. So a couple of tips. First of all, you can purchase, for not very much money, these bins are about $7 to $10 a piece. You can purchase different bins, put them in, and just pile things in here, which is just a good organizational tool. But you don't actually have to buy anything. You can use old canvas bags. You can use pieces of cardboard. The idea is that you want to sort of stack things in ways that you can sort of see exactly what's what. So you've got your meats together, you have your fish together, you have your vegetables together, and that will allow you a certain level of organization. And of course, labeling, always extremely important. These are really cute labels, but you can also just write on a plastic bag with a Sharpie, super easy.
Yep, love it.
And another tip is when you're cooking something like a soup or a stew, and you bulk cook on a Sunday afternoon, you want to freeze some of it, put it into a plastic bag, label it, of course, and freeze it flat like this. So you can stack things on top of it. Saves you a lot of
So
space.
smart versus just pouring it in and it'll bulk stay.
Right, exactly. And then you know exactly what it
Brilliant.
is, and you know exactly when it's going to expire because you should put a date on it.
Yes.
And that helps you actually really use your freezer.
I love it.
And then just a final tip, as you put new foods into your freezer, move the old ones forward. So you've got the things you have to eat first are on the outside.
That you can see visually. Open the
Exactly.
freezer, it's all right there.
Yep.
So good. And it is amazing because I'm like, the food budget, it eats up so much money.
It sure does.
And it's so easy to waste stuff. I hate to say it, I'm guilty of that. And so tips like this saves money over the long haul
Yep.
that you can put into your emergency fund, you guys. So great. Well, for more great tips like this, make sure to go to womensday.com or check out the latest issue on newsstands today. Susan, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Fun. I hope this episode motivated you to stay on track and push through baby step 3. Thanks you guys so much for watching. And if you haven't checked out my podcast, make sure to do that. And also subscribe to YouTube and Facebook. And as always, make sure you take control of your money and create a life you love.